Welcome to another episode of Is This for Kids? I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins, married, father of 4, and I think most media that is marketed towards children is horrific for them.
Keep giggling. Okay. I am Katie. MrsRuvi, and I am a married mother of 5. I love when you say married. It always feels very 1860. Anyway. I'm not an unmarried mother. I'm a married mother of 5.
I say it because it's my Catholic upbringing.
My name is
ministry.
Mrs. Louise Ruvalgaba.
You have to make sure you say things in order.
Yeah.
God, family, football.
That reminds me of little kids in Sunday school when you're like, does anybody know what the apostles' names were? And they're like, Jesus, God, read your Bible. And it's just always the same 3 answers over and over. Anywho.
You have 5 kids.
I do. I have 5 kids, and I think you can redeem a lot of media that's made for kids. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to let parents know what is in a piece of content that they may want to shield their kid from, or if there's conversations that come up that they may need to shepherd them through, but also how they can just use media to share in their kids' childhood. And today we're talking about
your favorite movie of all time, Sonic 3. I have a confession to make. So we have been doing this podcast for how long?
About a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
And during the first few months, my life was chaotic. I was doing lots of different things. I mean, life's always chaotic, but still, it was hard for me to balance everything and go see all these movies. And so there's a couple, like 1 or 2 or 3 movies that like I didn't actually watch.
Right.
But you did.
Yeah.
I always talked to you about it and you did. But there's one movie that I didn't tell you that I didn't watch. And that is Sonic 2.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
So I never watched Sonic 2. I take this podcast so seriously, and I go to the theater all the time, and it's wild. And especially in the last 6 months, I think you and I have been crushing it.
And Sonic 2 was definitely streaming at that point. Like, it wasn't even in theaters.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was.
Oh, boy.
We saw it with Mario, which was in theaters. And it didn't come out at the same time.
Well, I didn't actually watch Sonic 2, so I was confused at how Tails and Knuckles got in there, but I did go see Sonic 3. And I will tell you, I have since watched Sonic 2.
Excellent.
Because Sonic 3 was so good. The best of all the Sonics. Do you want to share?
Sonic 3 is the best of all the Sonics. I would like to stipulate that, but also that's like saying, which of these 3 dull, rusty spoons would you like to gouge your eye out with the most? I'll pick this one.
Was that a Salad Fingers reference? Because if so, well done. Rusty spoon. I like rusty spoons. Well done. I choose the one Salad Fingers chose. Salad Fingers, not for kids.
Not for kids.
All right. So Sonic 3. You've got 3. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails.
So the basic
camping together.
Gist of this, I'm not going to summarize the first 2 Sonics because I'm going to assume that you already know that if we're here. So this is the backstory of another otherworldly hedgehog that shows up, Shadow, who has it's his whole backstory involving being a sort of an experimental character for Gun, the government agency that's in the Sonic universe, where they were trying to use him to harness chaos energy to create a giant weapon, right? And so after I'm going to go with an accident at the lab that caused Shadow's friend, who was a young girl who is Grandpa Robotnik's daughter. I forgot her name now. What, Maria? That's right. Dang it. So he has Maria. He has a little friend, Maria, that's like Dr. Robotnik's grandfather's granddaughter, which would make him, her sister? His sister?
I don't know.
I don't know how they're related. But anyway, Shadow and Maria were great friends. There's some sort of an accident at the lab. Maria is killed. And now Dr. Robotnik's grandfather wants revenge on Gun, again, the government agency, which has always been the bad guy in the Sonic universe. But for some reason, Gun gets Sonic and his friends to help defeat Dr. Robotnik and his grandfather?
Good job.
It's a convoluted story is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's actually very confusing for kids.
Yeah, I mean...
But they don't care because they just want to watch Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles kick butt.
They're absolutely not in it for the plot. They're in it for the goofy Jim Carrey humor and the Sonic running around.
100%.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you think that it was weird that Shadow was absolutely in love with Maria and she was like 10? Because that was weird. That was weird. They could have made that way more of a friendship.
It was a little romantic.
It was a little romantic.
The laying out, looking under the stars.
Just a little weird.
Yeah.
If I were a 10-year-old watching it, I would be like, oh.
This is how the kids get that hear me out thing.
If a female Sonic appeared, I could fall in love with her.
Yeah. Her name is Amy Rose, actually.
What?
The female Sonic.
Spoiler alert. Did you stay for the end credits?
No.
she appears in the next one.
No way. My
Yeah.
daughter's going to be so mad that I got
There's like a ton of people, like a ton of like evil robots that look like Sonic that are fighting him. And then this pink Sonic comes up and saves him.
Amy Rose.
Amy Rose, who knew?
I did, because my daughter used to make me print pictures of her so she could draw her.
My kids do that too.
So weird. Yeah, so that was weird. It was this whole thing. Kids do that though with the hear me out, where they're like, hear me out, Sonic the Hedgehog. And they're like trying to convince you that like, but for the fact that he's a cartoon character, he would be a total 10. It's a thing the Gen Zs are doing.
Okay.
Or the Gen Alphas.
That's not us though.
No, we're old.
I definitely would have said hear me out, Jasmine, though, when I was 10.
That's true. You and every other man on earth. So is there anything in there, like, okay, we agree that it's a little weird, but if you've never been in a romantic relationship, you might not think that she's trying to date the hedgehog. Yeah. What is there in there that parents might object to, that you should they might want to shield kids from?
Okay, there's some weird things in the movie. Mm-hmm. It's a movie that I enjoyed and thought was really fun and funny. But I want to know if Jim Carrey wrote his own lines or if the jokes that he was forced to tell were he was forced and it was written. Mm-hmm. Because he made a couple of weird comments. Yeah,
there was a bondage joke in there.
Which you're not a fan of in kids movies, which separates you from everyone.
Right. I'm completely in left field with this opinion that there should be no bondage jokes in children's movies.
Yeah.
Ay.
And then his relationship with his friend is just weird. It's not like there's no insinuation.
Not wearing a shirt for the first like with he's naked under his shirt, under his jacket.
Yeah.
Very weird.
And it's just like at the end they have this moment, and it's just kind of like this weird thing. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to do anything? Kids aren't going to understand it. But I just think that Jim Carrey's character, especially in this movie, is weirdly inappropriate and kind of creepy, and then also hilarious when the jokes land. So I would just say there's a little bit of language, and some innuendo that probably doesn't belong in a kids movie. Yeah,
it's kind of especially weird. Like Jim Carrey, like famously, one of the big memes about this was that he had retired from acting and he wasn't going to act again unless, in his own words, the angels handed him a script written in gold ink that the world needed to see. That was what he said. And apparently that was Sonic 3 was that movie. And then he later came out and was like, nah, I just needed money. So I would not be surprised to learn that he phoned it in completely, just like whatever came out of his mouth is what came out of his mouth and whatever. Because this was not him being a good actor. This was just weird. Jim Carrey-ness.
And he plays himself and his grandfather, and they do make a funny joke about that in the movie.
Yeah,
acknowledging that it's the same actor. But then, like, both of them make weird gestures, weird sexual gestures throughout the movie.
Everything I don't like about Jim Carrey was present in this movie, and I literally sat there and thought, did they pay him double because he played two characters? Like,
ooh, maybe.
Did he get paid?
He also recently in a podcast said that he'd love to do another Grinch movie.
Oh, I'd rather die.
So you'll look forward to that on Is This for Kids?
Okay.
But I would say shield your kids from that stuff. It's kind of weird, but I don't think they're going to get it. Like there's nothing in there that kids are going to ask questions about after, unless your kid is wildly inquisitive.
Yeah, there are a couple of swear words. There's some dams, some badasses, hell of a, those kind of things.
Badassatron.
But it's not even badassatron. But yeah, it's similar in that way. And then like some unkind language, calling somebody freaks or a rodent or disparaging them or whatever. But for the most part, there's no drinking, no drugs, no gambling, no sex, no nudity. In fact, the two married characters don't even seem to be attracted to one another.
Yeah, they're just like little buddies.
Just, like,
they're friends.
Weird roommates. So there's that. Is there any conversations you'd like to have with your kid to shepherd them through as a result of the Sonic 3 masterpiece written by angels in gold ink?
You clearly don't like this movie. It's really funny.
I so hate it.
I think you can shepherd them through. I think you can have a good conversation about leadership in this movie. And I'm big on leadership. This is like, I spend most of my time talking to my children about faith or leadership.
Yeah.
And what it means. And like, I always encourage my kids to be a leader. And Sonic fails multiple times in this movie as a leader. Like, he does not lift up his cohorts, Tails and Knuckles, tries to do things his own way, refuses to take advice from people for most of the film until the very end.
Yeah.
Like, it's the very, very, he gets saved before he admits that he did anything wrong. And I just think that's a really cool way to have a conversation with your kids about what it's like to be a leader, that you need people. It's okay to need people. You made a comment in a recent episode about Gen Zers getting fired all the time because they just can't take criticism. 100%. Like, we need mentors. We need leaders to guide us throughout our entire lives. And I feel like a lot of the younger generations aren't open to that for some reason. And we should be. I have a bunch of mentors. I'm old. Like, what am I, 37 now? And I have more mentors than I did when I was 21.
Yeah.
And so we should be constantly looking for mentors and leadership and it'll make us better leaders. And I like that. You can have good conversation with your kids about that throughout this movie. You're welcome.
Yeah, and I think that that's good and important to do. We get a lot of crap from people on Instagram about like, you guys are talking about a kids movie. You know that, right? Like, kids don't exist in a vacuum. Generations don't change their behavior simply because nothing changed. We've created an entire generation of movies like Sonic 3, like Trolls Band Together, where the only overarching theme is, you can make good choices if you make them with your heart instead of like following a good leader or making it like have those conversations with your kids. Don't get all lazy and be like, oh, it's just a kids movie. So, I mean, you could. It's not going to hurt your kid. But we can't just let this stuff ride. Like, you have to point it out a little bit. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to have this annoying backsliding.
35% of the reason that I'm a good man is because of the Batman and Spider-Man cartoons I grew up with. So media matters.
Right. 35%. You did the math on it.
At least.
Okay. So, yeah. And share-wise, to me, I mean, there is a little bit of a conversation you said, but I think it's kind of a reach. To me, this is just another example of a movie that's made just for the money. And the fact that he came straight out and said, I just need the money, is wild to me. I mean, at least it's honest. It's a little bit refreshing, but I just think we owe our kids better. And we're going to talk next week about some movies. And we talked earlier this week about Mufasa. There are better options for kids. We don't need to make everything be a trashy crap thing. Like, you know how your grandpa gets mad every Christmas because they're like, the toys are made to break now. And when I was a kid, they were good and blah, blah, blah. It's that for media. And I just feel like maybe I'm just an old lady who's going to sit on the front porch and throw cats at people.
The disrespect that you have for Knuckles in this film is crazy.
Okay, Knuckles is actually the best part of that movie. He's
hilarious.
By far.
Objectively, he's fun.
So funny.
Funny. And so like it's worth watching for the entertainment factor alone of the interactions between Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails.
Yeah.
Come on. I thought it was an awesome
If somebody
movie.
was going to ask me, like, why don't you like Jim Carrey? I'd be like, the comedy of Knuckles is so much better than the comedy of Jim Carrey throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, he just wants to fight things and hit things, and it's awesome.
Actually, I would like to fight.
Yeah, I would like to fight. I think it's his butt kicked, but he's still super confident.
He's so cool. I love Knuckles.
Break the glass. It's an emergency.
Absolutely.
Yes, I get to break the glass.
Good to break the glass.
It's awesome. So I actually thought it was entertaining, fun, better than Trolls by a lot to me.
I mean, it doesn't take much.
It got decent reviews. It got like in the 80 or 90% on
it's just not my kind
Rotten
of
Tomatoes.
Movie. It's just not my kind of movie. I think there are better options out there if you want to get your kid interested in something, but it's not going to hurt your kid. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay,
it's fine.
Give me one example of a better movie.
One example of better Mufasa.
Great job.
Exactly. I'm doing a great job. So what age do you think it's appropriate for?
Would I let my 9-year-old watch this? Probably. I'm going to go 8.
Okay. I would say it's probably appropriate for 6 and up, because they won't recognize the bondage joke.
Yeah.
But
and if Jim Carrey, if you're listening to this podcast, which I'm sure you are.
Right, he calls.
If that was your joke, dude, it's weird.
It's creepy.
It's
You're
just
talking
weird.
to children.
Go back to your Jesus arc.
He went to a Jesus arc?
Yeah, he has a great quote about faith and
all right.
how he wishes everyone in the world could have millions of dollars and everything they ever wanted, so they could realize that that's not what satisfies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go back to that Jim Carrey.
Exactly.
And make Grinch too.
Maybe that one had too much money. Hey, if they like this podcast, where can they find more about it?
Go to isthisforkids.com. You can find everything that we're doing over there. Ruvi likes it when you show up to Instagram and leave funny comments roasting me. So do that. We are present everywhere on isthisforkids.com. So you can find every single place that you'd like to watch us. And leave comments letting us know what media we should review next.
Yeah. Hey, there's just so much content out there for us to look at as parents.
I'm Jonathan Beard Blevins.
I'm Katie, MrsRuvi. Let us help you decide.
Is this for kids?